I'm first going to invite the moderator for the first session onto stage after I introduce her. She holds a master's in business administration. She's a novelist and she's a poet, most importantly to this gathering. But she's also a marketing, communications and advertisement professional. Most authors wear many hats and have a lot of exposure to various things, which actually helps them write. Her debut work, The Teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Timeless Wisdom for the Modern Age, was nominated for the best debut this year at the Pragati Vichar Lit Fest. She's also been selected as one of the best Indian authors at Critics Space Literary Awards 2021. And she's also on the list of one of the most iconic authors of 2022 by Aesthetics International magazine. Let's put our hands together and welcome on stage Richa Tilakoni. We just met at the Pune International Lit Fest a couple of weeks ago. I am also going to invite the author after I introduce her. It's a very incredible list of credentials. She is an award-winning and best-selling author, graphic novelist, advertising consultant, poet, lyricist, translator, playwright, scriptwriter, travel writer, columnist, speaker, and creative writing mentor. She has published 19 books, including Incognito, Pinkoo Shergill Pastry Chef, The Secret Life of Debbie G, which is an award-winning book and has also been optioned for screen adaptation. Mary the Elephant's Rainy Day, Bathinda to Bangkok, The Reluctant Debutante, The Dream Merchants, Keeping It Real, Euro Trip, Ludhiana to London, Glitter and Gloss, The Activist and the Capitalist, Sweet 16, which has also been optioned for screen adaptation, 17 and Done. You Done? 18 and Wiser? Not quite. These three, as you can see, are part of a trilogy. Family Crossword, A Twist of Lime, Tongue in Cheek, and Ishavasya Upanishad, Knowledge and Action. Many of her works are on the shortlist of prestigious awards. She herself has won several awards and honors and has also won very many writing contests. Her short stories have been published widely in anthologies, and they've also been translated into Telugu and Oriya. Her travelogues have appeared in leading papers and magazines, and she's written features, pieces, stories, and poems for print magazines. Several of her short plays have been staged, and her play Cold Feet won Best Script in 2017. She's written... How many of you watch Tamil movies? Hands up. How many of you watch Hindi movies? I see some overlapping hands also. Well, she's written the Hindi lyrics for Tupaki. And she's written anthems for leading corporate houses. She's written for the screen as well, in that she's worked on the story adaptation of an American sitcom. She's written the Bible for a fantasy web series and stories for feature films. She's conducted creative writing workshops for children alone or children and adults, including at the British Council in Chennai. She was on the She the People's 40 over 40 list. She's worked on very many national brands. She's been invited as a speaker and judge at renowned schools and at several literature festivals, and has been invited on popular podcasts. Her quotes, author interviews, reviews, and pieces have been published in leading newspapers and magazines. She has been featured by popular websites and online communities, and she lives in Chennai. Let's welcome Vibha Bhatra. Now, if it were a hot day and you and I were walking down a road, a very hot day, and let's say my grandmother pops up. Come on, fantasy, imagination. I can say anybody pops up. My grandmother pops up there and she says, "You kids are looking very hot and sweaty. I'm going to get you ice cream. Don't tell your mother." And buys 2 ice creams, gives it to me and says, "Both of you share it." How many ice creams will you get? You wish. Don't touch my food. I run away with both and I eat them. But let's see what Pinkoo Shergill does, because that is the book on discussion with Vibha Bhatra.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to Chennai Arts and Literature Festival for inviting us. Thank you, Valley of Words and the Chennai International Center. And a special thanks to our writer, author, playwright, lyricist. She wears many hats, Miss Vibha Batra.
Thank you so much, Richa. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm so excited to be here. But before I begin, a thank you to everyone for having us here. And apology to all the students for getting you all out of bed on a Sunday morning.
Hope you guys are having a good morning so far. So let's dive into this very exciting book, Pinkoo Shergill. I know you guys are dying to hear all about it. So, Vibha, please tell us how did you get the inspiration to write such a wonderful book?
It's so good when people say good things about your book because the haters always get. Like Sri Murari, I completely lost my train of thought. So I was just going to say, how did I get the idea? Oh, well, that's the problem. Everything inspires me. So it could be a book that I read, it could be a movie that I watched, a song that I heard. So, yeah, that's how. And the main thing is that I love food. So, growing up, I grew up in Kolkata and I grew up in a house filled with books, but it was in Kolkata. And as we know, it's the food capital of the country. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree, but please bear with me because I'm from Kolkata and I love it. So, despite my best intentions, all I wanted to do was eat. But despite my best intentions, my parents and grandparents' love for reading and books it just rubbed off on me. So even while growing up, I wanted to write a book revolving food. And when I was growing up, my parents wanted me to do CA because we are Indian and we all want to be engineers, doctors, lawyers, and architects, right? But I wanted to be an author. I wanted to write books. So my parents were very worried. They said, oh my God, no money. Because I'm sure all of you have seen those memes, right? It says writing and money. So they were very worried. And they said, no, I think you should do CA. So then I took the help of my grandfather, the late Sri Vishnukant Shastri, and he was an author, a prolific author. And he convinced my parents. So, I just sat on that idea for many years. I'm not going to tell you how many years because then all of you are going to say, oh, such a Jurassic person is writing books for kids. So I'm just going to say it was many moons ago. But I had that idea, that seed of that idea, that one day I'm going to grow up and write about something like this. And also I write for a whole lot of other reasons, including the inspiration for this book. I know I'm rambling a bit, but you know how it is for authors, we just lead such solitary lives. So when we get the chance to speak, we are just not going to let go and just give, these short, pithy answers. So I just wanted to ask the young at heart and the actually young, how many of you have been bullied? Can I see a show of hands, please? Yes, so that was one inspiration to write the book. And how many of you have been told by parents and well intentioned relatives about what you should do with your life? Yeah, see, oh my gosh, so many hands. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So I wanted to address that elephant in the room also. That how, our heart belongs somewhere, but then because of society or what will people say, or for financial considerations, we end up doing something which is not our passion. And then it takes a pandemic, and then we realize, oh my God, it's time to start baking that banana bread. It's time to start a business that we have always been waiting for. It's time to write that book that we've been sitting on for many years. So it's all those reasons. I'm not sure if that answers your question. But
It does answer my question and some other questions as well. So we will just go on to the next question. Thank you. I wanted to know more about this character, Pinkoo, because you've done such a fantastic job with it. He comes across as he's so well sketched. He's so it's so clear his dreams, his motivations. So there are so many writers. They say that our characters come to us fully formed. They are the lucky ones, of course. So did that something like that happen with you as well? Did your characters come fully formed, or did you have to like sit and chisel at this kid day in day out?
okay, I just like to think of my characters as my alter ego. Because even in this book, Pinkoo and Tutu, I thought, I'm an amalgamation of Pinkoo and Tutu, likes to eat, gets into all sorts of trouble, but means well. So, a lot of it was, from real life. And strolling, yeah, after the book is done, after, when I start giving all these media interviews, not that there are so many, because you know how it is, YA literature, children's literature, it's always given the short shrift in the media. But then I say, yeah, I did stroll into my head, it's like this. When you prepare for an exam and then, you get 100 on 100, you score a centum, then you're like, yeah, it was all easy. But while you're preparing for that exam, it's so tough, sleepless nights, and, but this is how, we make sense of it. So we try to romanticize the process. We try to make it sound better than it is because we have to do it all over again. And if we are just going to try to make it sound the way it was, difficult, then we are not going to be able to do it again. So it's like, Joey and Chandler, don't let writer's block know that we know. So just pretend that it doesn't exist. So yeah, it was very easy. Pinkoo to just rolled into my head and the book practically wrote itself.
Okay, I know you're joking, but still, I would like to know because there is a lot of humor also in the book, which is part of your personality. But there is also an underlying theme of hope, of grit, of determination, of fighting for your dreams, standing up for yourself. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. Like, how do you go about, weaving these ideas into such a wonderful tale?
Okay. So, whether we are in school or college or in office, some of the common themes are, parental interference, then school/office bullies, and how do you deal with all that? So, I can write in a very preachy manner, in a condescending manner, but the thing is, we are always being told what to do and what not to do, right? By our peers, by social media, by advertising, by our relatives. So, but what if we had to do what is close to our own heart? It's not going to be easy, right? It's never easy. So I just wanted to write something, which felt real and relatable to me and which did not feel as if, I was talking from the space up there and talking down to my readers because I identify as a 10-year-old on most days. Earlier I used to think I'm a 16-year-old girl, but then I realized maybe that's not true. Maybe on some days I'm a 10-year-old boy as well. So I'm just going to write for that 10-year-old in me. And when we pick up a book, we don't say, okay, let me learn something new. We never start a book with that intention. We do it, at the end of the day when we have done, homework for hours, when we have mugged for hours, and then we sit down and pick up a book. We do it to entertain ourselves, to relax, to chill. So, I just wanted to do something like that. And if you try to teach people something, I think it's best forgotten. But if you try to couch your message in humor, I think that's when it hits home. So, I've just attempted to do that.
Okay. And what have your learnings been from this book? Because you're writing on such important issues. So I'm sure there must have been a lot of feedback from the children, from the parents. So did you also feel that, oh yeah, I also learned something while writing this book?
Okay, what I've learned is, the kids, my readers, they are the best. Because what I saw today, it literally gave me goosebumps. So I'm so thankful to the little one who dressed up as Pinkoo. Thank you so much for making my year and next year. So hashtag gratitude. And my biggest learning is, that the kids, the TG that we call it, the target audience, they're always going to get the message that's at the heart of the book. But it's the gatekeepers that I worry about, because it's the grown-ups who are going to come and write all these reviews online and they'll say, but ma'am, you used the word shut up. So I said, yeah, the boy is 10 to 11 years old. And, we kids, we do use that word, shut up. They're like, yeah, but it's going to give the wrong message and you might become a bad influence. So I was like, okay, this is like flashback from school. Other parents complaining that she's going to be a bad influence on our kids. No, not really. I was Ore the Padips and I was curd rice and, I was a brain box. So not really. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So the gatekeepers might have a problem. So for instance, some of my editors might be watching and I love them very much. But sometimes there's pushback. They'll be like, maybe you should not use beeped words. So I'm like, what is beeped words? They're like the ones we have scratched out now. So, in my mind, I'll think of them, as regular words. So they're like, maybe just go easy on them because parents might have a problem. They are the ones with the purchasing power. So we kids, we just have pester power. But the parents, they have purchasing power. So then I said, yeah, India is a democracy and I don't want to write stuff, that might lead to protests, because how people show disagreement in a democracy, they just burn your effigies, they pelt stones at your house. So I said, okay, I'll just cut down on the beeped out words. But the kids themselves, the young adults, they have only shown love for the book.
And what do you think about diversity and representation in books? Because, like Sir was saying, for so long we've had only, European heroes and heroines. We look up to only Harry Potter or, the Enid Blytons of the world. So, because even when we were growing up, these were the books we were reading. So we could not ever connect fully to those heroes. But when we read like Pinkoo or, some of the other authors here, these are Indian stories, these are Indian characters. So so we can identify with their challenges, with their problems. So how important do you think this is for young adult writers and children's writers?
Okay, very important. And I just have a question for the audience. How many of you have heard of J.K. Rowling?
Everyone.
Yeah. How many of you have heard of Enid Blyton? How many of you have heard of Liz Pichon? Tom Gates? Yeah. Jeff Kinney? Okay. Okay.
Almost everyone.
Vibha Batra? Hey! Okay, no. Not before this event. Oh, there's one hand. Thank you. Yeah, love you too. So, yeah, so see, one hand. So, if I had said Ruskin Bond, Sudha Murthy, yes, more hands. But the thing is, there is so much work, there's so much work, good work, excellent work that's been done in the space of YA and children's literature. It's just that, they are not discovered. So it's there, it's happening. I think the scene is very vibrant. It's getting better. We have these dedicated literature festivals that shine the spotlight on children's books. And there are some newspapers with certain exceptions, but when I try to promote my books in the media, okay, this is slightly, off tangent, they say, but madam, we don't cover children's literature. So I said, why? So they're like, but this is a newspaper for adults. So then I say, but adults also buy books for children. They read books. So they're like, madam, you're joking. So it's like, you have to grow up to write adults fiction. It's not like that. So what I'm trying to say is, we are trying to tell our stories. Why I wrote about Pinkoo Shergill, people said, did you deliberately try to bring in, diversity? He's a Sikh. And so I did not set out to do that, but I'm so glad it happened. And I think it's very important for kids, for us to see ourselves in our stories, because we did not grow up eating scones. We grew up eating idlis and dosas and parathas. So it's so nice to see that, that we are represented in what we read. It's so nice to see that we are not alone, that we are having a shared experience. And I'm so glad and I'm so proud to belong to a community that's doing that. And, I just hope that it gets the attention that it deserves.
Thank you for that, Vibha. Another important issue I wanted to bring to your attention was the problem of mental well-being, because this was a concept which was alien, at least amongst kids. But since the pandemic, I think this has become something of a talking point, because there is so much stress and there's so much pressure on the kids. So was that also one important aspect which you wanted to highlight in your book?
Absolutely. I would say, because of media, social media, parental pressure, and I just wanted to ask the kids here, all the students here, not kids, young adults, almost grown ups. So, how many of you have social media accounts? How many of you pretend that you don't have social media accounts, but you stalk under a different name? Okay, just me. Okay. So yeah, so a couple of my books have dealt with that theme as well. And I just wanted to say that, everything we see in the media, see, we are from advertising, so totally guilty as charged. But the images of these, perfect people that we see, they are not real. All of them get out of bed looking like us only, so no worries there. But, it's just this team, it's an army of people who make them look and sound the way they do. So I'm sure if I had that PR team, they would make me say very different, very politically correct things here today. But we don't. And so what we see is just the bright, happy, shiny things that they want to project. But what we do is That we don't live from bright moment to bright moment in our real lives, right? So what was the question? Sorry.
I was talking about mental well-being
Yes,
among
mental
kids.
well-being. So yes. So the thing is, because of a lot of comparison or because of a lot of pressure, we might think that we are not good enough. We might think that, no matter what we do, we are failing. But what I want to tell the real 10-year-old me, the 10-year-old me back then, and all the 10-year-olds at heart here, that it's going to be okay. It's okay to feel lost, lonely, confused, miserable. Who knows, one day you'll grow up and write a book about it. And it's going to be okay because it's not over until the lady sings. I'm not going to use the adjective because it's body shaming. So it's all going to be okay. So there are no worries there, and we are not alone. We are all in this together, pre and post pandemic.
Thank you for this message of hope, Vibha. Another important issue I wanted to discuss with you was the gender issue, because there are so many writers now who are writing like for women with women as their main characters. So is that something also which goes into your mind? Because most of the stories which are told today are about the male heroes, the guy went and did this. So did you think that also, that maybe I should have a woman as maybe Pinky Shergill, but why Pinkoo Shergill?
Okay, so it's a very interesting question. Like Sir said this as well, that in children's literature, we mostly have female authors. But I think all the male authors, maybe they were busy writing about being in engineering colleges and being dumped at the altar by some heartless girls, a procession and bevy of girls. So maybe they're busy doing that. So my thing is that, I've written for a lot of male protagonists as well. And I don't find it particularly challenging because I think, in India, we have this concept of Ardhanarishwar. So I think emotions are universal. So I think it's across gender. I think if your work, if your story is straight from the heart, I think it just cuts across the gender divide.
So when you're working on the story, how does it happen? Does the character first come first and then the plot comes? I mean, I know it's a chicken and egg situation, but how does it work with you?
So it's very tough to say, like I was saying in the beginning, it will just pop into my head. It could be a scene, it could be a line, it could be a sentence. And the tough part is, in my head, it's all written. Like even as I speak to you, I'm writing, my next book very, very furiously in my head. It's that thought of getting the MS, the manuscript, onto MS Word. That's the tricky part because of, so many distractions. You have to, earn your living and there's family to take care of. So I think, and social media these days, because when I was writing this book, and how many of you have seen Chak De? Because a lot of people said they watch Hindi movies. So how many of you watch Chak De? Yeah, so there's this famous speech, right? 70 minutes, Shah Rukh's. So I used to give myself that speech in Shah Rukh Khan's voice. That when my little one used to take a nap, I used to say, 70 minutes, तुम्हारे पास 70 minutes हैं. You can use these 70 minutes wisely. Either you can scroll through social media and then, just berate yourself for the rest of the day, or you can spend these 70 minutes very wisely working on your book. So some days social media won, some days the book won.
So that's interesting. And I would also like to know your views on, the young adult market as such, the children's book. How do you think it's going? Because there is so much competition. There is, YouTube is there, computers are there, phones are there, so children are getting distracted. So what do you think is the future of, reading as such in India?
Okay, so I'll just put a disclaimer here. I know she's been asking some very interesting, relevant questions, but I'm going to be like this politician, so I'm just going to answer what I want to answer. Okay, so yes. So a famous author said that, my competition is not other authors, it's social media and it's video games and YouTube. So yes, there's a lot of competition and you said the YA market. So for us, see, we are just going to do what we want to do. We did not care about, the finances. That's why we chose to become writers. So despite the fact that there's competition and our editors tell us, please don't write for young adults. Nobody's reading these days, write for, under 10. We are just going to keep doing. So I have, so many unpublished manuscripts in my drawer. But when has it stopped, authors, right? So we are going to keep writing and forging ahead.
Thank you, Vibha. Now, I would like to invite the audience. Do you have any questions for Vibha?
Yes, ma'am. A very good morning to you. First of all, I'm Durgashri from class 8. And my question is, do you feel kids should follow their dreams or listen to their parents' instructions? And why do you think so?
Okay. Durga Shri, are we social media friends? You're the one who's been following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hi. So good to see you in real life, in IRL. Okay, very tricky question there. There are lots of grown-ups. So I'll slide in the DMs and I'll tell you the real answer. But
Yeah,
so
sure,
I'll
ma'am.
just give a politically correct answer now. I'll say, you know, parents are just grown-ups. Physically they are grown-ups, but at heart, they are just the same children, who were scolded and blasted and whatever. So they're very scared. They're scared that, if we let our children follow their hearts, let them do what we couldn't, maybe, they'll not be happy enough or successful enough, or maybe they'll not earn a lot of money. So they'll just try to bring you to the beaten path because they just want you to be safe. They have your best interests at heart. So they're just trying to protect you. But the thing is, we should not wait for a pandemic or, a big life change for us to follow our dreams. Because I'm sure that, if we do what is closest to our heart, what brings us alive, what makes those rivers of joy that Rumi talks about flow within us, I'm sure that success can't be far behind. So eventually, our parents will get what they want for us, happiness and success.
You got your answer? Introduce yourself, Dan.
I'm Heather Zedi. I have a question. In your book, Papaji's character, the father of Pinku, has a very old mindset that boys should not cook. Was there anyone in your childhood that affected you that had similar mindsets that you based this character off?
Good morning, Jaideep. So, see, I have to go back home. So I'm just going to, play it very safe. And I also wanted to say thank you to Umna, ma'am. My husband is an alumnus of Sisha, and he turned out okay. I mean, he may need a map to go to the kitchen, but he's okay. He's good. So about the mindset, I'm so amazed at times, when people write very weird stuff, in their reviews and social media. So at that time, I just want to have an argument with them. No, that's not true, but I can't do that. So that's why I try to put it in my books, because once I read this criticism that these days there are women writers who are writing about controversial subjects. So I'm like, really? So, this way I can just express my annoyance at a lot of things. So this mindset, it's prevalent. I'm so glad you said it's an old mindset, but it's not really a unicorn. It's very much alive and kicking. So I just wanted to say, blue is not for boys, pink is not for girls. Boys can wear dresses, girls can play football. And we are going to be okay.
Hi, I'm Ada from class 9. A huge question I have is, since you're a writer and I'm also an aspiring artist, there's one thing that hits me most, that is procrastination and sudden blocks. Since you're a writer, you must have that in your life. Like suddenly you're writing something and the next second you forget it completely. Like, okay, we'll take Pinkoo Shergill. Suddenly you want to make it a character who's short and tiny, but then you have a block, and you're like, no, I should probably change it to something else according to what my, like the people who want to read my books would presume. So how do you get over it? Like, how do you get over your blocks?
Okay. So, hi, Ira. Thank you so much. It's a lovely question. See, I have this strategy, okay? So, this is like complete denial. So, all these years, I never thought writer's block existed. It does, definitely. But I'll be like, what writer's block? I've been writing constantly. So, my strategy is don't acknowledge it. Don't make it, sound like a real thing in your head. It won't go away, right? So maybe what if you step back? Suppose you're working on a piece of art, you're making something, but you step away, you start doing something else, and then get back to it. Because, I find, the siren call of the art that we are making to be really strong. So, I might say that the manuscript I'm working on, God, it's awful, and nobody's going to publish it, nobody's going to read it, and if they read it, they're going to say bad things about it. But then I set it away. But the thing is, it keeps calling out to me. So I have no other choice to go back to it. So in the meanwhile, I'll do other things. I'll write a song or I'll write poetry. But then eventually I go back to it. Because, I think there's a lot of honor in finishing what we started. Because a lot of us start projects, with a lot of enthusiasm, enthu cutlets and all that. But then, why leave things half finished? And I think sometimes we're very critical of ourselves and we think that this is awful. And in our society, I was reading this very interesting thing that, for women say, I'm only 99.9% qualified for this job, so let me not do it. And men will say, I'm 41% qualified for this job, I should definitely do it. So, we tend to hold ourselves back. So what if we did not listen to that inner critic? What if we forged ahead anyhow? So try that next time and see. So I wish you good luck. So is everyone clapping because they want us to wrap up? Okay, you really like the answer? Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah.
Have one more question. We have time for one more question.
Oh, we have two. We can take two.
And make it short and snappy like an advertising slogan.
I'm Jashwant from class 8. I have a question for you. Like, what's your advice for young readers and upcoming authors?
Um, See, more than an advice, it's just a request that, if you read something that you really liked, please reach out to the author on their social media handles and tell them how much you love their work. Because you never know, they might be having a very awful day and they might be in the middle of just quitting writing altogether. And the other request is if you don't like what the writer's written, please don't let them know. Because, I think it's a very cruel world and there's a lot of grief, pain, sorrow. And I don't think we should add on to it, with our thoughts, because it's not going to help the author, right? They're just going to feel bad about themselves. It's not like a bad author is going to become very good and just start producing works of magnificence. So, yeah, it doesn't help any. So, but was a question for aspiring authors as well? Yeah, so aspiring writers, yes, read a lot. The only way you can become a writer is to read. And when people say, there was a very famous author who said, I don't read. So everyone said, yeah, it shows. So if you don't read, you cannot become a good author. So read widely, read extensively, read stuff you don't like, read stuff you like. And when you sit down to write, you'll just see that the words start flowing. They might not be words you like at that moment, but the good words will come. Don't worry. Just keep at it.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Ar.
Yeah, the mics are playing truant. Yeah.
Bold and fearless you are. That made you feel. We also, the thing.
I just stopped listening at Bold and Fearless. I was so happy.
But he won't get recorded. Check. Come here.
Okay, I think I can hear.
Yes.
So, good. Ma'am. Good morning. My name is Arvind from class 7, ma'am. And like I said, I really love how fearless and bold you are. And the books that you're writing, it's inspiring. And you spoke about how you're getting criticized and how that made you feel annoyed. How do you get over that? What do you tell yourself to continue to be so bold and brave and inspire young people like us?
Okay. I just love that question. So thank you so much, Aryan. It's very hard. We can just go out there and pretend that, bad reviews don't hurt us or criticism doesn't hurt us. So see, I have again a couple of strategies. My first strategy is that I remind myself I'm in advertising. So Anuja Chauhan, my super boss, once said, in our job, we have people puking all over our work on a daily basis. So when I present concepts and slogans, I'm sure Richa will agree, we have people puking all over it and say how awful it is. So, every time I get shortlisted for an award, this is how the account executives at my ad agency say. So, hotshot winning writer, this is what the client said, work rejected. So, that just brings me down, to terra firma. But yeah, the thing is, see, everyone has their point of view. And if somebody gives you a gift, you do not have to accept it. If somebody gives us a scorpion as a gift, are we going to accept it? No. So if they are being unnecessarily, needlessly harsh, we do not have to take their criticism to heart. It's not a fact. It's just one person's opinion. And we do not have to accept it. But having said that, I was just reading somewhere that we have this negativity bias. So 100,000 people can say amazing stuff about us, and we'll be like, maybe they are just saying it to make us feel good about ourselves. And one person will say something awful about us, and we'll take it to heart. It's because we are hardwired that way that to process negative information, it takes us much longer. So that's why we are so affected. It's all chemicals and hormones and, science. We don't have to take it so seriously. So what I'm trying to say is people will say, jitne muh utni baatein, kuch to log kahenge. We do not have to take it to heart. We just have to stay the course and do what makes us happy. If we stop doing what we do because of what someone said, it's not going to make us happy, right? So don't do that. Please don't do that.
Thank you so much, Vibha. This was wonderful. Let's end with a message of hope. And I really liked it, the way you summed it up. So, and my advice also to the audience is similar. Just keep at it, follow your dreams, and nurture your passion. Don't give up, just have faith. Thank you, everyone. You have been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
to the
you.
audience. Thank you so much, CIC, Value Your Words, and Omar Sisha School. Thank you, Ritu.
Thank you. Over to you, Mamati.
Thank you. Thank you. Please don't leave the stage yet. I would like to invite Shri Srinivasan, Shri Chopra, Dr. Chopra, and Dr. Tom present our speaker, our author and our moderator with tokens of our love and affection for their time, their presence, and their words. May I have a bouquet also, please? Oh, there are a lot of goodies coming up. There are a lot of goodies. Is it by someone from the school?
He's from our art department, HOD's creations. And whatever you're seeing outside, all the creation of our students. We have a focused this thing on art, it's called creations. It's bringing out the creativity of the children. So even our theatre itself will be a creative edition.
I love this. This is gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you so much.